I want to start with the truth that most people are afraid to say out loud. Life hurts. Sometimes it breaks you. Sometimes it doesn't give you a warning. It just knocks the wind out of your soul. And maybe, just maybe, some of you in this room know exactly what I'm talking about. Meaning you've been betrayed. Meaning you failed big, so big it left a scar. Meaning you've lost someone or something that meant everything. Meaning you're smiling on the outside while quietly drowning inside. But let me tell you this, that pain, it isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your power. See, most people run from pain. They numb it, bury it, pretend it's not there. But what they don't realize is buried pain, it just grows roots. And the moment you stop running from it, the moment you face it, feel it, own it, that's the moment everything starts to shift. Because pain, when faced with courage, can become your fire. It can become your strength. It can become your power. So if you're here tonight thinking your struggle is your weakness, I'm here to tell you, your struggle is your superpower. If you're willing to transform it, stay with me, because over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to take the very things that tried to break you and use them to build the strongest, boldest, most unstoppable version of yourself. Let's turn your pain into power. We've been taught to hide the parts of ourselves that hurt. Around the time we're kids, we get messages like, toughen up, get over it, don't show weakness. And so what do? We build walls, we put on masks, we bury the pain, the shame, the fear, and we pretend like we've got it all figured out. But deep down, we know we don't. See, what you run from runs your life. What you deny controls you in the dark. And the longer you avoid your story, the messy, painful, complicated parts of it, the longer you stay trapped by it. It's like carrying a suitcase full of bricks pretending it's not heavy. You smile, you hustle, you tell the world I'm fine, but inside you're exhausted, you're stuck. And I know that feeling because I've lived it. There was a time in my life where I thought if I just work harder, if I just push more, I'll outrun the pain. But the truth is, you can't heal what you won't face. You can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. Let me ask you something. Have you ever told yourself that didn't really matter, or I should be over this by now, or it wasn't that bad? That's not strength, that's survival. And survival is not the same thing as living. You see, when you finally stop running, when you stop hiding from your story, something powerful happens. You take your power back. Because pain doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been through something, and that something, as messy as it was, is the very soil where your strength can grow. I've worked with people from every walk of life, CEOs, athletes, parents, artists, teachers, even people coming out of addiction, prison, trauma. And you know what the most liberating moment is for every single one of them? It's the moment they finally say, this is what happened to me, this is what I went through, and this is what I've learned from it. There's no shame in your story. Your scars are not something to hide. They're proof that you've healed. They're proof that you've endured. But you don't just own your story by talking about it. You own it by shifting how you see it. If you keep looking back at your past with guilt, shame, resentment, or regret, you'll stay stuck in it. But if you look back with ownership, with compassion, and with clarity, you'll finally get the power to reframe it. You get to say, I went through hell, yes. But I didn't die there. I was knocked down, but I got up. I was broken, but I rebuilt stronger. And when you do that, when you own your story with that kind of strength, you give permission to everyone around you to do the same. You become a light for people still lost in their darkness. You become proof that healing is possible, that growth is possible, that freedom is possible. And listen, I'm not saying you have to have it all figured out right now. I'm not saying it. even still hurt sometimes. I'm saying you get to decide right here, right now, that you are no longer ashamed of what shaped you. You are no longer a prisoner of your past. You are the author of your future. Because here's the deal. You can't build a powerful life on a foundation of lies or denial. You can't lead. You can't love. You can't grow if you're still chained to a version of yourself you no longer are. It's time to stop pretending. It's time to stop shrinking to make others comfortable. It's time to stop minimizing what you've survived just because someone else didn't understand it. You've been through enough. You've carried the weight long enough. It's time to turn and face it. Not to relive it, but to reclaim it. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have the answers. You just need to be real, honest, raw, and ready, because once you own your story fully, completely, without apology, there's nothing left to hide. And when there's nothing left to hide, you become unstoppable. Now, once you've made the decision to stop running from your story, to own it, the next move is where the real transformation begins. It's the shift from victim to creator. This one shift, this one decision is the difference between staying stuck in your past and building the life you were born to live. Because listen, we've all had moments where life felt completely out of our control. Things happened to us that we didn't choose. People left. Trust was broken. We were hurt, abandoned, judged, dismissed, overlooked. And it wasn't fair. Let's be real about that. But if you stay in that place, if you keep rehearsing the pain, replaying the betrayal, reliving the failure, you end up building an identity around your suffering. And once your identity becomes pain, anything that threatens to take it away feels like a threat to who you are. You start saying things like, this always happens to me, or nothing ever works out, or I'm just not one of the lucky ones. And you think it's reality, but really it's a story you've been telling yourself over and over again. And that story, that's what's holding you hostage. Here's the truth. You may not be responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for what you do with it now. Because there's a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is the event. Suffering is the meaning you assign to it and the story you keep telling yourself about it. You can either let that story keep you small, or you can take the pen back and write a new one. One where you're not just reacting to life, but creating it. That's power. That's real freedom. I remember talking to someone who had gone through years of abuse, years. And she said to me, I didn't choose what happened, but I get to choose who I become because of it. And that's the shift. That's the moment when you stop saying, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what can I build with this now? You are not powerless. You are not your circumstances. You are not your trauma, your mistakes, or your setbacks. Those things happened, but they are not you. The real you is the part that survived, the part that still shows up, the part that's here right now listening to this, because some part of you knows that you're meant for more. See, when you operate from a victim mindset, life feels like it's happening to you. Everything becomes a trigger. You're waiting for someone else to fix it, save you, or apologize. But when you step into creator mode, life starts happening for you. You stop waiting, you start building, you start choosing, you stop surviving and start leading. This doesn't mean you never feel pain again. This doesn't mean you don't get knocked down. It means you stop staying down. It means you choose to rise, not once, but over and over again until rising becomes your new default. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's worth it. Because once you decide that you're the one steering the ship, something inside you changes. You stop asking for permission to heal. You stop asking for permission to grow. You become the permission. People start noticing. Your energy changes. You speak with more certainty. You move with more fire. You set boundaries not from fear, but from power. You show up not just for others, but for yourself. And it's not because you became someone new. It's because you finally remembered who you were before the world tried to make you forget. So maybe you're sitting here thinking, but I've made mistakes. So what? Welcome to being human. Mistakes don't make you weak. They make you wise. Or maybe you're thinking, I've wasted too much time. No, you haven't, because you're here now. You woke up today, and if you're breathing, you're not done. That means there's still time to decide, time to shift, time to stop being defined by what tried to break you and start being refined by it. Let me be clear. Your past is a chapter. It's not the whole book. You still get to write the next one, and the next one, and the one after that. And you write it not by waiting for life to be easy, but by rising again and again and again, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's how you move from victim to creator. That's how you take your power back. And when you do, that's the moment life starts answering to you. So now you've owned your story. You've made the decision to stop being the victim and start being the creator. But there's another piece, one most people miss. It's subtle, but it's everything. It's not just what happened. It's not even just what you do with it. It's what you make it mean. Because meaning is what shapes us. Meaning is what fuels us or freezes us. And here's the truth most people don't realize. What happened to you is not what's holding you back. What's holding you back is the meaning you attach to it. Let that sink in. Because every time something happens, whether it's a failure, a betrayal, a loss, or a setback, your brain automatically assigns meaning to it. You create a narrative, and that narrative becomes the lens through which you see yourself, other people, and the world around you. Maybe you failed at something early on and made it mean I'm not good enough. Maybe someone walked away from you and you made it mean I'm not lovable. Maybe you grew up struggling and you made it mean success isn't for people like me. And you didn't even know you were doing it. But that story, that interpretation became the rule book for how you've been living ever since. And unless you challenge that meaning, unless you rewrite it consciously, it will run your life without you even knowing it. That's the trap. But here's the power. You can change the meaning. You must change the meaning, because the moment you do, everything changes. You can take the exact same experience and attach a completely different story to it. One that empowers you, one that fuels you, one that sets you free. Let me give you an example. I met a guy once who grew up in a violent home. And for years he told himself, I'll never be enough. I'm broken. I'll always have anger issues. That meaning became his identity. It ran his relationships. It sabotaged his career. It followed him like a shadow. But one day, he made a different choice. He said, what if that pain wasn't proof that I'm broken? What if it's proof that I survived? What if I can use it to become the kind of man I never had growing up? He changed the meaning. And when he changed the meaning, he changed his life. The story didn't change. The facts didn't change. He changed. That's the power you have right now. No matter what's happened, you get to say that divorce didn't ruin me, it revealed me. That failure didn't define me, it refined me. That rejection wasn't proof I'm unworthy, it was redirection. See, the event itself is neutral. It's not good or bad. It's not empowering or disempowering. It's just a moment in time. The meaning you assign to it, that's what shapes your beliefs, your emotions, your identity, your future. And if you don't consciously assign the meaning, your pain will assign it for you. Your brain will go on autopilot and it will default to fear, to shame, to judgment, because that's what it's been conditioned to do. But you're not here to live on autopilot. You're here to live awake, to live in truth, to live in power. And when you reframe your struggle, when you shift the meaning, you don't just set yourself free. You reclaim control over your entire narrative. Look, pain doesn't come to you randomly. It comes with a purpose, but it's up to you to find it. It's up to you to decide what that struggle is going to mean to you. You can let it be the reason you shrink or the reason you rise. You can let it be the thing that crushed you or the thing that carved you. You can let it keep you stuck or use it to launch you into your next chapter. It's your choice. Always has been. And maybe no one ever told you that before. Maybe people told you to move on, to forget, to just be positive. But I'm not here to give you feel-good fluff. I'm here to tell you the truth. And the truth is, when you finally look your pain in the face and say, I get to decide what you mean to me, that's when the game changes. And don't wait for someone else to validate your story. You don't need their permission. You've already been through the fire. You've already carried the weight. You've already earned the right to give your pain a new meaning, one that empowers your soul instead of chaining it. So the next time you hear that old voice in your head, the one that tries to shrink you down, remind it who's in charge now. Because what happened to you may not be your fault, but what it means, what you build with it, that's all yours. There comes a point after you've owned your story, stepped out of the victim mindset, and reframed your struggle where you hit a wall. And that wall is called resistance. It's that quiet inner fight where a part of you still clings to how things should have been. You know what I'm talking about? That inner voice that says, this isn't fair, or I can't move forward until this gets fixed. We all have that voice. It comes from a place that wants to protect us. But the truth is, resistance doesn't protect you. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you tied to a reality that no longer exists. It ties up your energy in a battle you can't win because it's a fight against what already is. And you can't grow when your fists are clenched. You can't rise while dragging the weight of resentment, regret, or unrealistic expectations. Seth, transformation isn't about controlling the storm. It's about learning to stand in it, to breathe in it, to see it for what it is, and still choose to move forward. But you can't do that until you release the resistance. And this is one of the hardest parts because it feels like if you stop fighting, if you stop resisting, you're letting someone off the hook. You're saying it was okay, or that it didn't matter, or that you deserved it. But releasing resistance doesn't mean condoning what happened. It means accepting that it did. It means saying, this is my starting point. Not because I like it, not because I chose it, but because it's real. You cannot change what you refuse to accept, and acceptance is not weakness, it's strength. It's the first true act of power because it says, this is the truth, and now I'm ready to do something with it. That's where your power begins. Not in denial, not in blame, but in reality. Because when you finally stop resisting the facts, when you let go of how it should have been, you create space for how it can be. And I get it, letting go is scary. It's emotional. It feels like surrender. But there's a difference between surrendering to your pain and surrendering to your power. When you let go of the illusion of control, when you stop needing it to be different before you allow yourself to heal, that's when you step into your greatest strength. Let me ask you something. What are you still holding on to right now that's keeping you from peace? A broken promise? An apology you never got? A dream that didn't happen? An identity that no longer fits? That tight grip, that attachment to the past, to being right, to what you thought life should be, is costing you your peace, your energy, and your future. And I know this part is raw, it's emotional, because the things we resist the most are often tied to our deepest pain. But what if that pain was just a doorway? What if letting go wasn't the end of something, but the beginning of something bigger? Because here's the truth. When you release resistance, you don't lose power. You reclaim it. You get back everything that resistance was blocking. Your creativity, your intuition, your joy, your clarity, your momentum. You stop needing closure from someone else, and you create it for yourself. You stop waiting for life to be fair, and you make it meaningful. You stop trying to rewrite the past and start writing the future. I've worked with people who were holding on to pain for decades, and the moment they decided to let go, not forget, not minimize, but truly let go, they looked younger, they sounded freer, they moved differently, because carrying resistance ages you, it drains you. And when you drop it, your spirit gets to breathe again. This is where you learn to make peace with your past, not by loving it, not by justifying it, but by recognizing that it shaped you, and now it's time to own what you're going to do with it. You've already survived it. Now you're ready to build with it. But that building can only begin when you stop trying to rebuild what no longer exists. It's not about going back. It's about going beyond. And to go beyond, you have to be willing to release the story you've been rehearsing, the judgment you've been carrying, the perfection you've been chasing. You have to be willing to meet yourself right where you are, with all the scars, all the lessons, all the beauty, and say, I'm not fighting this anymore. I'm using this. Because when you stop resisting reality, you open the door to possibility. And when possibility enters, everything changes. You stop surviving. You start creating. You start running. You start rising. And when that happens, life doesn't just respond to your actions, it responds to your energy. So the question is, what could you create if you stopped resisting and started responding once you've released resistance? Once you've let go of the fight against what is, there's another layer that demands your courage. And it's not easy. In fact, for many people, this is where the biggest internal battle shows up. It's forgiveness. And I'm not talking about the fluffy, watered-down version of forgiveness people throw around on greeting cards. I'm talking about real, soul-level forgiveness. The kind that rips open old wounds, exposes your pride, forces you to confront the part of you that's still holding someone else hostage in your mind, and then tells you the truth. You're not holding them hostage. You've been locking yourself in that cell the entire time. Forgiveness is not about saying what happened was okay. It's not about letting someone off the hook. It's not about pretending it didn't hurt. Forgiveness is about refusing to let pain define who you are anymore. It's about choosing freedom over bitterness. It's about choosing your future over your past. Because here's the thing, resentment feels like control. It feels strong. It feels righteous. But it's a lie. It's a trick of the ego. While you're busy holding on to that resentment, the other person has probably moved on, or they're still stuck in their own version of pain. You're not hurting them by staying. Double language. You're just keeping yourself from fully living that pain, that bitterness, that tightness in your chest when you think of what they did. It's not punishing them. It's poisoning you. Every time you rehearse that story, what they did, what they said, how wrong it was, you reactivate the pain. You relive it. You invite it back into your nervous system like it's happening all over again. And you deserve more than that. You deserve to stop bleeding over wounds that someone else caused. You deserve to walk forward without dragging chains from the past. And yes, it takes strength. It takes massive courage to say what you did was not okay, and I still choose to set myself free from it. Because when you don't forgive, you carry it. You carry it in your body, in your relationships, in your work, in the way you see yourself, and after a while, you don't even realize you're carrying it. It becomes your normal, your baseline. But underneath that normal is exhaustion, emotional fatigue, a slow leak of power that drains your ability to be fully present. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you. You forgiving your past. You forgiving the people who couldn't show up the way you needed. You forgiving the version of yourself who made decisions from fear, from lack, from pain. And some of you have been at war with yourselves for years, judging yourself for mistakes you made, for things you didn't know, for not being stronger, for not leaving sooner, for not standing up for yourself. But how can you grow if you keep punishing the version of you that got you through the fire? You want to transform your life, you want to turn pain into power, start by forgiving the person in the mirror. Look them in your eyes and say, you did the best you could with what you had, and I'm not carrying this shame one step further. You're not broken, you were just surviving. And now it's time to rise. Forgiveness is a decision, it's not a feeling. Don't wait until you feel ready. You'll never feel fully ready. Do it anyway, because your freedom matters more than your pride. Your future matters more than being right. And some of you are going to have to forgive people who will never understand what they did, people who may never change, but that's not your job. Your job is to clean up your side of the street. Your job is to let go so you can be fully here. So you can build, love, lead, create without the shadow of old pain dictating how you show up. You want to live with power? Start by no longer giving your energy to people and events that can't be changed. Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget. It doesn't mean you invite those people back into your life. It means you release the emotional contract that says, I need you to suffer in order for me to be free. No. You're free because you choose to be. You choose to rise. You choose to close the chapter, not because the story was fair, but because you are no longer willing to live in it. You choose peace. And in that moment, when you let go of the need to hold on, you reclaim the one thing that pain tried to take from you, your ability to feel whole again, because you are whole. You always were. You just needed to remember it. There's a moment, once you've owned your story, reframed your pain, released your resistance, and forgiven what needs to be forgiven, when something shifts inside, the fog starts to lift, the heaviness begins to break, and this question rises up like a whisper from the soul. Why? Why did I go through all of that? What was the point of the pain? Because when we're in it, when we're knee-deep in heartbreak, failure, betrayal, disappointment, it feels pointless. It feels like suffering for the sake of suffering. We think, there's no way this could lead to anything good. This is just darkness. But hindsight reveals something different. Always and if you're brave enough to look closely, if you're willing to see beyond the surface, you'll notice that inside every painful moment, there is something else trying to be born. Because pain, when it doesn't break you, builds you. It wakes you up. It forces you to see what you've been ignoring. It pulls the truth to the surface. It exposes the weak parts, the lies you've told, self, the comfort zones you've outgrown. And when you start to realize that, something incredible happens. You stop seeing pain as the enemy, and you start seeing it as the messenger. Sometimes the message is, you've been living small. Sometimes it's you've forgotten who you are. Sometimes it's you're living someone else's life. Sometimes it's time to rise. But the message is there. And if you don't hear it as a whisper, life will shout it. And if you still don't listen, life will shake you to your knees. Not because life is cruel, but because the version of you that's meant to thrive can't be built in silence and safety. It's forged in fire. That fire you went through, It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It was refining you, stripping away what you didn't need, destroying false identity, crushing the ego that was keeping you from your deeper truth. It was breaking you open so that something more powerful could come through. You just couldn't see it yet. You were too close, too raw, too deep in the wound. But now you're starting to see the outline of something new, a purpose, a direction, a sense that maybe, just maybe, this pain meant something. And it did. It always does. You think you were just rejected? What if you were redirected to something better? You think you just failed? What if you were being trained? You think you were abandoned? What if life was teaching you to become whole within yourself? This is what it means to find purpose in pain. It means you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start asking, what was this trying to teach me? Or what is this preparing me for? Because that pain may have cracked your heart wide open, but inside that crack is where the light gets in. It's where your real strength is born. Not the kind you show off to the world, the kind that carries you when the world falls silent, the kind that doesn't waver when things get hard, the kind that holds others when they can't hold themselves. That's what pain builds. And maybe you've already felt it. That deeper empathy, that heightened awareness, that unshakable inner knowing that you can walk through fire and come out stronger. That's purpose. And here's the beautiful part. Your greatest contribution to this world might come not in spite of your pain, but because of it. Some of the most powerful healers were once deeply wounded. Some of the most inspiring leaders were once completely lost. Some of the most grounded souls were once shattered by chaos, but they didn't just survive it. They used it, they took their pain, and instead of letting it define them, they let it refine them, and then they turned around and used it to help someone else. That's when purpose catches fire. When you stop asking, why me? And you start saying, because someone else needs what I've learned. Because someone out there is going through what I went through, and they don't see a way out yet. Because this pain gave me something no easy life ever could. Compassion, clarity, and a calling. Your pain was never just about you. It was carving a path for you to walk ahead of others, to turn around and say, I've been there. I know what this feels like. Let me show you what's possible. That is purpose. Not just surviving, not just healing, but becoming useful with your healing. Taking what once broke you and turning it into fuel to build someone else up. That's the kind of strength that doesn't fade. That's the kind of meaning that lasts. And that's the kind of life that lights up every room it enters. So if you've been wondering what all the struggle was for, it was for this. So now we're here. You felt the pain, faced it, reframed it, released the weight, forgiven what needed to be forgiven, and even started to uncover a deeper purpose in it all. But I've got to tell you something, and this might be the most important part. Unknown if it sticks if you don't choose it again. And again. And again. Transformation isn't a one-time event. It's a daily decision. You don't get to claim your power once and expect it to carry you forever. You build it. You reinforce it. You choose it. Especially when it's hard, especially when old habits try to sneak back in, especially when no one's clapping, especially when you're tired, frustrated, discouraged. Because real growth, that happens in the quiet moments. It happens when no one is watching. It happens when you wake up and feel that old pull, that temptation to shrink back into the person you used to be, the one who was afraid, reactive, defensive, small, but instead you say, no, not today. Today I move forward. It's not sexy. It's not dramatic. It's not always visible, but that decision to keep choosing growth is what separates those who stay stuck from those who rise and never look back. We all want the breakthrough moment, that flash of insight, that fire, that rush of clarity, and those moments matter. They wake us up. But after the awakening comes the real work, the work of integration, of becoming the person your pain pushed you to discover, of embodying the strength, the love, the discipline, the compassion, the vision every day. Because it's easy to talk about growth. It's easy to write about it, post about it, dream about it, but growth isn't a vibe. It's a decision. And sometimes it looks like doing the unglamorous things, like getting up early to move your body, like having that uncomfortable conversation instead of running from it, like setting boundaries even when it scares you, like saying no to distractions so you can say yes to your purpose. It's showing up for yourself when no one else does. It's being your own advocate. It's choosing the stretch instead of the shortcut, because shortcuts won't take you anywhere worth going. Growth isn't about speed. It's about direction. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. But you have to get consistent in putting the time in order to build the skills that will move you forward. You have to move. You have to act. You have to take the lesson life handed you and do something with it. That's what turns pain into power. Action, consistent, conscious, sometimes uncomfortable, but always courageous. Action. You might not feel like it every day. That's okay. You're not always going to feel motivated. That's why habits matter. That's why habits matter. Because your future can't depend on your mood. It has to depend on your decision. And here's the truth. Every day you wake up, you're either feeding the old story or building the new one. Which one are you feeding? Are you giving your time, your thoughts, your energy to what broke you? Or are you investing it into what's becoming? You've already done the hard part. You faced what? Tried to destroy you. Now the question is, will you build something with it? Growth doesn't ask you to be fearless. It asks you to show up in spite of the fear. It doesn't ask you to never fall. It asks you to get back up faster. It doesn't demand perfection. It demands honesty and commitment, because there's a version of you, and every decision you make either brings you closer to that version or takes you further from it. And yes, some days you'll slip. You'll fall back into old patterns. You'll forget who you are for a moment. But growth isn't about never slipping. It's about catching yourself sooner, realigning faster, forgiving quicker, choosing again. That's how you build power. That's how you build trust with yourself. You stop waiting for life to change and you become the change. You stop asking for the path to be easy and you commit to being stronger. Because the strongest people you've ever admired, they didn't get there by accident. They got there by choice, by doing the things others weren't willing to do, by being relentless about who they wanted to become. And you have that same choice every single day. You don't have to rush it, but you do have to own it. Own your time, own your thoughts, own your responses, own your progress, own your story, because no one's coming to save you. That was never the plan. You were always meant to save yourself. So keep choosing, keep building, keep becoming. The next version of you is waiting. Now meet them. At a certain point on this journey, something shifts. You've done the inner work. You've faced the darkness. You've let go of the past. You've risen stronger. You've chosen growth over comfort day after day. And now you stand in a different kind of space, a space where the pain that wants to find you no longer controls you. And that's where something sacred opens up. You realize it's no longer just about you. The most powerful shift happens when you move from being the one who needed healing to becoming the one who helps others heal. From being the one who searched for the light to becoming the one who is the light for someone else still lost in the dark. Because here's the truth. Real fulfillment doesn't come from just overcoming. It comes from contributing. You're serving. You're serving your breakthrough so others can have theirs. And this isn't about becoming a coach or a speaker or anything like that. It's about something much more human, much more real. It's about using your strength, your story, your scars, not to impress, but to impact. Think about it. What did you need when you were at your lowest? Someone to see you, someone to understand, someone who wasn't trying to fix you, but just show you, hey, I've been there too. You're not crazy. You're not alone. And this isn't the end. That kind of presence is power. And the beautiful thing is, when you serve from a place of alignment, when you pour from a full cup, not from guilt or obligation, but from love, you don't get drained, you get charged. Because that's what we were wired for. We weren't meant to heal in isolation. We were meant to rise and then reach back, to lift, to guide, to love bigger than we ever have before. You might not think your story matters. You might think you're not far enough along yet. But someone is just starting the chapter you've already finished. And for them, your story isn't just inspiring, it's oxygen. So don't keep it locked up. Don't wait until it's perfect. Share the truth. Share the struggle. Share the lesson. Because nothing heals like realness. And when you show up real, raw, honest, compassionate, you give others permission to do the same. That's leadership. That's legacy. It's not about status. It's about impact. It's not about what you get from life anymore. It's about what you give. And let me tell you, the reward that comes from lifting others is unlike anything else. There is a joy that comes not from being admired, but from being useful, from knowing that your journey, the one that almost took you out, is now helping someone else rise. It's sacred, it's humbling, and it's what all this pain has been preparing you for. You were never meant to just survive it. You were meant to transform through it and then multiply that transformation in others. That's what legacy is. It's when your presence outlives your pain. It's when your voice echoes beyond your own healing. It's when your courage plants seeds that bloom in someone else's life. But you can't do that if you stay hidden, if you keep your light small. If you stay in the story that says, who am I to help someone else? Who are you not to? You made it through what others are still drowning in. That matters. You've learned how to breathe again after losing everything. That matters. You've walked through shame, grief, anger, fear, and you kept going. That matters. Your story carries weight not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And when you start showing up with that kind of authenticity, not trying to fix, but just trying to serve, everything changes. You start to realize that the power you were building wasn't just for you. It was for every person who would feel your energy. It was for every room you walk into and change just by being there. It was for the people who don't know how to ask for help, but feel safe when they're around you. It was for the ripple effect your healed self is now creating. And if you want to talk about a life well lived, it's that. It's not just being successful. It's being significant. It's living in a way where your joy lifts others, where your healing creates safe space, where your strength isn't intimidating. It says, come with me. You don't have to stay where you are. I've been there too, and I promise there's more. That's how we change the world, not through force, not through ego, but through service, through presence, through love, through the courageous act of showing up for others, even when no one showed up for you. because that's who you are now. You're not just someone who overcame, you're someone who transforms others by how you live. And when you live like that, when every day becomes an opportunity to give more, love more, serve deeper, then pain didn't win. You did.